Hi, Erik Linask with TMC here. We're here at Cloud Expo in New York, and I'm talking with Ian Farruggio and Chris Pennisi from Pacnet. Chris, thanks for joining me. Ian, so what are some of the things that you're seeing in terms of cloud adoption and evolution, and more specifically, what are some of your customers asking of you?
Good question, Eric. Essentially, we've seen a transition happen wherein early cloud adopters were typically small enterprises, really very low IT staff, and just looking for a complete outsourced solution, similar to the kind of Amazon Web Service type public cloud offering. These days we're starting to see larger enterprises with more specific type requirements move into the cloud space, and that's where Pacnet can really help to customize solutions for larger enterprises with very customized needs.
Chris, what's driving the large enterprise to seek solutions from companies like Pacnet?
Well, typically they would come to us for the raw infrastructure, whereas now they're looking for a managed hardware solution. So we're adopting that. We're implementing across our board 27 data centers and interconnecting them with our subsea assets. Typically in the past, a lot of cloud operators are actually coming to us for the raw colo space and transport, but now the enterprise market's shifting where they're coming directly to us for that.
So does that mean that you're now competing with some of those traditional cloud providers?
Absolutely, I would say so.
Are those folks also your customers?
Some are, but I think there's enough room for everybody to get a piece of the market, and there's different niches. Everyone does things a little bit different. We operate on a layer one platform, so there's a place for everyone in the market.
So Chris just mentioned that there is a place for everyone, and everyone does certain things a little bit differently. What are some of the things that differentiate Pacnet?
Well, what kind of puts Pacnet in a superior position to deliver these type of services is the strength of our subsea network. It's the largest wholly owned subsea network in the region, and we're a private company. So that allows us to have the autonomy to upgrade equipment as we see fit. We're already deploying 100 gig on the network today. That allows us to bring our costs down and allows us to deliver those very same solutions wherein some of these other companies are having to buy space, power, connectivity from a company like Pacnet, wherein we own the real estate, we own the data centers, we've built them from the ground up, we've built the network from the ground up, and we were able to deliver it in a more cost-effective fashion, and inherently being a service provider, we already have all that talent in-house, so it's an easy addition for us, and it scales.
How do you ensure security?
Well, being that we deal with the largest carriers and service providers in the world, including government agencies around the world, security, regulatory compliance is something that we've done throughout our entire history, so it's kind of a natural for us.
So, as Ian just mentioned, you deal with some of the world's biggest government agencies and entities. Should other customers be concerned that you're dealing with government entities, especially in light of a lot of the recent media attention around governments asking for access to data that's being stored?
No, I don't think they should necessarily be scared about that. I think it actually works, it behooves us. For example, we actually are fully licensed into China, whereas we're one of the few international telcos with that licensing to operate data centers, ISP services, MPLS services as well. A lot of companies are scared off to go directly to China Mobile, Unicom, Telecom, so they come to us and we're able to deploy that, and they have peace of mind that they're not working directly with a Chinese-owned company. Whereas Pacnet's actually owned and operated privately, headquartered in Hong Kong and Singapore.
That's a great point, Chris. That's the biggest fear from these U.S. and UK-based, Europe-based entities is to protect their intellectual property, and they can feel comfortable going into a Pacnet-owned data center that their information is going to be private and secure. So that's a key advantage of us over the government-run telcos in some of these markets where security is a big concern.
So is it strange that in a truly global economy, a global internet-based economy, that there aren't more players like Pacnet who really have access and information and an understanding of global markets?
Well, there are plenty of carriers out there that have understanding of global markets. I think really the key differentiator for Pacnet is that we have taken the time to go through the regulatory process and gain the licensing agreements in these tough markets. For instance, vis-a-vis China, India. Those are two key growth markets for us, and it's very difficult for non-Chinese or Indian-based companies to gain access to this. Our licensing agreement in India took 7 years to acquire. Now we have that advantage in the marketplace, and I think that's something that we could be proud of.
Yeah, if I could just interject, in terms of China and all the regional licensing, it was a maturation over the course of 10 to 12 years through mergers and acquisitions. So it's not something that comes immediately or someone could adopt overnight. So we've had those in place for a while, and it took until this point to realize, listen, look at all of our advantages throughout the region, and let's actually roll it out in a complete cloud offering and interconnect all these data centers. And it's a really strong offering, and it's really just starting to come to fruition, if you ask me. So I think there's a lot of growth potential in the next couple of years for Pacnet.
So other than that, what can we look forward to from Pacnet in the future?
Yeah, well, we just adopted a CDN platform, so we rolled that out about a year and a half ago. It's really starting to scale up. We built out to a lot of the exchanges, so for the financial market that are looking for low latency private lines in Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo, they can go directly to us for one-stop shop. But I really think the long-term goal is the hardware as a service cloud offering. We're going to actually offer network as a service, so basically bandwidth on demand, whereas typically you'd have to use bandwidth on a 12-month term. We could scale it for a course of a month or so up to 100 gigs. And no one has that. It's still taking time to adopt, about 6 to 9 months, but I think you're going to see some really innovative things coming out of Pacnet into 2014.
So how do some of those things that Chris just mentioned impact how Pacnet has to build out its own infrastructure in order to be able to accommodate that kind of demand and be flexible enough?
Well, I think Chris hit the nail on the head when he talked about the cohesive nature of Pacnet's offering. There are a lot of companies that do public cloud well. There are a lot of companies that do data center well. There are a lot of companies that offer transport well. Pacnet has, over its 10, 12-year tenure, has kind of put these offerings together, and as Chris said, over the last 2 years, really started to mesh them together. So not only can we offer you, managed hosting in China, or data center in your Hong Kong hub site, or CDN for access to all those eyeballs in China that you want to get your content to, and bring all that data back to the U.S. That's really where Pacnet is moving and building and growing, and we think that we got a winning strategy to dominate Asia.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I'm Erik Linask with TMC. Check out all of our Cloud Expo coverage in the TMC Video Newsroom.